All right, welcome back to the next Across the Line podcast. I am Will Thompson, and as always, we got Mason Nome on the other end. Today, we have a very special guest, best friend, former teammate, and new PGA Tour superstar, Pierceson Coody. Pierceson, thanks for being on with us, and give us a little update on what you've been doing recently and your next tournament coming up.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite call myself a superstar, but I appreciate the support. And I've played 3 events on the PGA Tour this year, my rookie year. Have been home the last 3 weeks, kind of with all the new elevated stuff. Makes the schedule a little different for rookies compared to years past. And so this is my last week at home before I head to Mexico, and then we'll start 3 in a row there and kind of head my way to Florida and hopefully stay in Florida for the next 5 or 6 weeks and play some really good golf.
Yeah, get on a little bit of a run there. So first off, we're going to go kind of into just the general stuff, the upbringing and junior golf and how you got into it. So the golf history in your family is really well documented. Obviously, your granddad, Charles, won Masters in 1971, and your dad gave professional golf a run too. What were their roles in your upbringing, and how did they make you such a great golfer?
Yeah, it's really interesting the family dynamic of it all because my granddad, as most people would say, like succeeded in golf. He won a major, and so played his entire life, played on the Champions Tour, played really well on the Champions Tour, and so like golf was always his thing. He was always very successful at it. My dad grew up watching his dad be incredibly successful at it, and then gave it a go, played at Texas, and then tried to play professionally for about 10 years. And things just didn't quite go his way. You know, if he would have been in what is now the Corn Ferry most of his career and tried to kind of make it work in Europe and Asia, but just didn't quite get all the way to the PGA Tour and eventually kind of gave it up when he was about 32 and had Parker and I. And for Parker and I, that was it's been really interesting learning from both of a guy who won a major and then someone who was very talented, very good golfer in their own right, but didn't quite push it over the line to get to the PGA Tour, stay out there 5 or 10 years, whatever that may be. So I tell people I've been blessed to learn from both sides of success and quote unquote failure because he didn't fail. He's still an incredibly good golfer, but in the world's view, he didn't make it to the PGA Tour. And so I've been very lucky to kind of just hear both of them talk about the way they approach the game and have just kind of a wealth of knowledge with all the family history in golf.
Absolutely. And just building off that a little bit, obviously Parker, your twin brother just got his PGA Tour card, so super exciting stuff there. But, going back a ways and also looking to now, like how beneficial is it and was it at the time to have Parker, by your side practicing, getting better with him? How was it then and how is it now?
I've said several times that I don't think we would be as good as golfers as we are if we didn't have each other. I think you never know. In an imperfect world, we aren't twin brothers or something like that. Maybe we both end up on the PGA Tour, maybe we don't. But I think the way things panned out has been the best thing for both of us. We had a very healthy relationship growing up. We played a lot of different sports and kind of got used to working together as a team through those other sports. And so when it came to golf, I don't want to say we're on the range like helping each other, coach each other, or anything like that, but there was probably more of a team mindset of like, okay, well, let's go chip. How's this look? Can you take a video for me? But also once that kind of stuff all went to the wayside, it was like a lot of competition. Like even today, we finished our day with a couple of 9-hole putting contests and like 3 games of 21. Like, and that stuff we've been doing for 10 years and it's never going to change. Hopefully we're both 35 or 40 on the PGA Tour and I'm going to be like, all right, let's go do 9-hole putting contest for $20. Like it's in that level of competition and focus, and to have someone that's on a similar level or same level or better than me at times is, I mean, it's incredible because it just keeps me sharp and it keeps me hungry. Even when I've been on my high horse and I feel like, oh, he can't beat me right now, or it makes me want to stay ahead of him, and vice versa. Like when he's beating me, it makes me it makes me want to beat him so bad. It makes me kind of get out of bed a little earlier and go do the things I need to do.
Yeah, I bet. And like going back to college, we all had kind of that same dynamic. We would do a bunch of games of 21, a bunch of putting contests, and having, for you especially, like best friend in your brother who's, like you said, like on the same level. That competition day in and day out, just that's iron sharpens iron, 100%. And then you two are kind of on the same path. When did you and both of you realize that you guys were good enough to play college golf and you knew it was what career you wanted to follow?
Yeah, I would say we played football, basketball, and baseball and golf until our freshman year of high school, and that's when we went golf only. But probably around like seventh grade, eighth grade, when started to shoot low scores, would travel around Texas for some of the local events and would play well. I was like, I'm better at golf than I am these other sports, and I'm not going to be very big. I'm not going to be very tall. So, you know, I ran the chances that golf might be my one place that I can make a living off doing something athletic. So, it was probably I was full bore into golf from about eighth grade on, and that's when I made a decision like, all right, I can get to college, and then I was like, okay, well, I got a college scholarship. Like, I'm not bad, so I can get to the PGA Tour. And I would say truly after my freshman year, and I was fortunate until my freshman year was like Victor Hovland's junior year and Matt Wolf's sophomore year, and uh, played a lot with them just because of the Big 12 stuff. And I was like, they're really good, but like I feel like I can get there. And that was kind of like the aha moment because those guys were being touted as like the next kind of couple guys to come out of college, and got to watch them play a lot up close. I was like, I can get there. So my freshman year of college, I really kind of like, I guess, gained the self belief like I'm gonna get to the PGA Tour.
100%. And then building off that, you and Parker have a pretty cool story of how you decided on where you want to go. Can you go into a little bit of detail about that?
It's really unique, obviously, being twins and getting recruited. And I haven't talked to many other twins what the experience is like, but for us, it was our dad tried to help us through the process as much as possible without the two of us influencing our decision. And that sounds simple, but like you think you're close with your brother, you think you're close with your sister, but like you have no idea what it's like to have a twin that you live with, that you practice with, that you have the same friend groups. Like, I mean, I basically could tell you what he's doing right now, and I could tell you what he's eating, drinking, and what he's thinking about before he goes to bed. Like, it's really weird, and so for us not to influence each other going to college was a challenge for our dad, but he did a great job, and we kind of did our recruiting visits together, and then we would talk to our dad separately about what we thought. And after going about Texas and Oklahoma State and Auburn and Baylor a few times, we kind of knew it was Texas and Oklahoma State, and we both thought we would choose Oklahoma State, both leaning towards Oklahoma State our sophomore year of high school, and we did one last visit to Texas, and it was just kind of like the aha moment of like, wow, like, I'm from Texas and this is like Texas, and that sounds corny and everything, but like for someone that grew up in Texas, like have the opportunity to go like play at Texas, and once that kind of hit us, I think we both were like no-brainer decision, and we kind of flipped our decision at the last moment. And our dad had us, after that last visit to Texas, write down on a piece of paper which school he wanted to go to and give it to him separately, not tell each other when we would do it. And we both got home, I think, like a day or two after that visit, and gave him whatever, told him Texas, and he sat us both down at dinner and was like, all right, you both said Texas, we'll start calling the coaches. And so we truly had no idea. Like, we're like, he could be going to Oklahoma State or whatever, and I could be going to Texas, but we had no idea. And a lot of coaches kind of treat us as package deals, and Texas and Oklahoma State were two of the schools that didn't, and that was also like very refreshing as well.
Absolutely. And now looking at your golfing career so far as like a big timeline, obviously you've been a great player your whole life, and you've done nothing but progress as your time has gone along. Obviously we grew up playing a lot of Legends Tour events together. We all played AJGAs together. When do you think it really clicked for you? Obviously, towards the tail end of your junior career, you started having a lot of success, winning some events, and then obviously you went into UT playing some good golf. When do you think it clicked, and was it more of a gradual improvement over time, or was it like you said, an aha moment, like that made you, progress in that manner?
Yeah, again, talking about my dad just a lot, like the way he would always tell me when I was, younger and I'm playing other sports, get really frustrated with golf because I was like, I think I'm talented enough, but like, why am I not shooting these scores when I was 13, 14, 15? Like, I wasn't quite getting in all the AJGAs and stuff, and I felt behind. And he kind of just always told me, like, there's a plan. Like, we have a plan. Like, don't worry about what's going on until, you're 20, 21, whatever. That 20 to 25 range is kind of like, like when a lot of guys truly hit their stride in golf, and you don't know if it's going to happen when you're, and it's some before and some after. And like there's obviously Jordan Spieth and Nick Dunlap like hit it at 19. Like you don't know when you're going to hit that stride in professional golf. And my dad just kept trying to tell Parker and I I have a plan. Let's just please stick to it, stay positive, and just do what you can. And I think that also gave Parker and I like an immense like work ethic of like self belief that if we keep doing the right things, like like our dad's got us, so we're gonna end up in the right place. And so, I guess things really turned for me my senior year of high school. I started playing the AJGA Invitational probably about back into my sophomore year, junior year. I have all-time story with Will at one of them, my first one. I had like the first round lead. I had the first round lead, and Will had been playing some of the AJGAs and was more familiar with like I guess the situation. Like me, like it felt like my first PGA Tour event. Like I was like, oh my gosh, there's John Pock, there's Andy Zhang and stuff like that. There's Cole Hammer, and and then I was tied for the first round lead, and like I'm duck hooking these 3 woods on the range, just like toe ball Jamal constantly, and Will like comes up to me. No, he just committed to Texas. Knowing that I'm looking at Texas, he's like, "Hey man, like I'm Will. Like I know you're looking at Texas." And I don't know what I said. Will probably could like elaborate perfectly what I said. But I was like, basically, leave me alone. Like I want to stop towing my 3 wood.
Look, you were being a dick. You just shot 69 or something. You were leading the tournament. I had just committed. I remember I went on a visit before that because the CB and I was in Houston. I went on my visit, committed, and Cole and I are really good friends. I came up in the practice, and I was like, oh, I'm going to Texas. And Cole was like all pumped up. And then I saw you on the range, and my dad was like, oh, I think like that's one of the Coodys. He's leading the tournament. Like you should go say like good round and what's up. So I went over and I was like, hey, like good playing today. And you're like, thanks. I was like, I heard you're looking at Texas. Like I just committed there. Like blah blah blah. And you're like, yeah, maybe. And then nothing. And I was like, all right, good to know you. Like nice meeting you. And now,
oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
A few years later, we were there for 4 years, and now talk like every other day.
I know, and you just were trying to be a nice guy per usual.
Just trying to be nice. That's all.
But yeah, I was star-studded in those events to Will Thompson and stuff, so I was a little nervous. But I won Thunderbird my senior year. Finished second, Transmiss, which was an amateur event, and I was like, wow, like, and that was my first time getting into an amateur event. Like, I'd gotten into Texas Am once, but like that was my first, I guess at the time, like A-rated Wagger event or whatever, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. And I finished second, and I lost to Hayden Springer's down on the PGA Tour because he made a hole-in-one on our 71st hole and lost by 1. And I was like, that's what. So I felt really confident. I got better through college, and yeah, I don't. I forgot what the question was at this point. I think you asked me like
what clicked and like catapulted you to.
Oh, okay. So that senior year was definitely like the click, the catapult of like just self belief. Like my swings changed a lot over the years. Injury or whatever it has been, like it's changed a lot. And like if you have like a lot of even fake self belief at time, like that's what I learned in that time is like playing against guys that are a lot older in college and everything like that. Like almost had like fake self confidence in those iffy moments that like I could have let a tournament slip away, uncomfortable shots or putts. Like so, and that's something I've tried to like keep with me. Is like not fake it till you make it, but like self-talk and those kind of things can be really important.
Yeah, 100%. And then just playing with you through college and stuff too, you always flushed the golf ball. And then I think there was a point, you would obviously know better than me, but where your short game and putting really started, in my opinion, to catch up to your ball striking. And then it went from like 16 greens around, like shooting a few under, to like now I can roll my putts in, I can get up and down if I'm not hitting it great. And then, there was a semester in qualifying where you were averaging like 66 or 67 at UT, which is like a really hard golf course. So like 100 yards and in from at least my perspective playing with you, like, just helped you take off.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like right now I'm trying to get back to like that same 2019 swing. Like 2019 was like I kind of ran the tables. Like I won a couple amateur events. I had some good runs. I had a good run in USAM that year, and like it was a good point in my swing. Then COVID hit, but it was whatever. That was the point that I was hitting it like awesome. Like Parker would joke around all the time. Like there's this drive part y'all obviously know at 13 at UT Golf Club. Like I was better off trying to drive the green than I was laying up and having the 100-yard wedge shot to a bowl. Like it was that kind of like bad at times. And I truly can't remember like what happened. I think I made like a conscious effort to like literally just like hit the green, like to understand that like tour average from 100 feet for 100 yards is 20 feet. Like, and that sounds crazy because like you sit down your TrackMan and we could all sit down on our TrackMan or quad and paint 100, 98, 102, like just over and over again. But like to understand that like the one time you miss short side is like an auto bogey, and that is more than a stroke gain or stroke loss on strokes gain. Like, and so I think I just was so overly confident with my other parts of my game that like I made the mental decision like I don't have to birdie every time I have 100 yards. Like I literally just need to like accumulate looks, and that's so I think that was a big part of it. And I went through a phase with the arm lock that like kind of reworked my putting. Like I struggle with a strong left hand grip, and that left hand grip makes me my face shut on the way back and kind of like back out of it. And that year and a half with the arm lock really reworked the way like I worked the putter with my left hand and made my left hand really weak, like insanely weak. So now when I put my hand on like a normal, just a standard, I put the standard blade putter and I have for a long time now since arm lock 3.5, 4 years ago. But that drastically changed my putting, is just being able to work out of those things in a functional way, just by using the arm lock. And now that's also translated to like long-term success with the putter.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. We all saw that too. You're working with the arm lock for a little bit, and then right when you went back to the regular putter, you were making everything. So that definitely adds up. Kind of a fun one here. You earned the nickname Boots pretty early on in college, and it stuck with you for a while. Can you explain how you got that?
Yeah, there's so many stories in college where you just go through it. That's crazy. But Boots is like the original, the OG. Like it was so Parker Cole and I's official visit. Like Scotty, Doug, Nick Hostel, like I guess our three hosts. I don't know if Nick was or Sussman. It was Sussman. Scotty, Doug, and Sussman were our three hosts, and whatever. We go to dinner, and we had a college experience, and that night, and I lost like my tennis shoes and some of my other clothes and all this stuff, and like I end up having nothing to wear the next morning because I only packed like one extra, like I only packed 2 outfits, and so I throughout the night staying at someone else's place, so like guy on the guy's team, like losing my clothes, I end up at my place and I wake up the next morning for like 3 hours of sleep to go to breakfast with the coach next morning, and all I have is like shorts and boots and like a pullover, and we go to breakfast and then go to ACC with selling donors and members and all this stuff, and I show up because one of the guys on the team is like running late, and I get out of the car with like boots and whatever gym shorts on. And so everyone thought it was really funny, and like Nick Hostel was like kind of like the team. I don't want to say team clown, just but because he's a great guy and like brought so much energy. He just started calling me Boots, and everyone loved it. And there was a time, I think, up until COVID, I would get all my wedges stamped Boots. I had some putters made up with like Boots on the back of it. It's a really fun kind of story. And the best part is like a coach just was oblivious for so long. That's what gets me about it every time. It's just he had no idea.
Yeah, that's might be the wildest part.
It's one of the best stories. And moving on to a more unfortunate story, talk a little bit about your and Parker's like arm injury. Obviously, we were all there at workouts. The tail end. I believe it was at the tail end of the semester. But talk a little bit about the recovery process. What that entailed, how you're able to turn around and play really good golf coming back. I remember we went to Arizona for, I believe, a trip to Greyhawk, and I remember that was your first few rounds back. You had I believe it was a 5 or 7 wood in the bag, and I remember how radar that thing was for a little while. So just talk a little bit about the recovery process and what that entailed.
Yeah, the backstory, Parker and I both fractured our arm together running into a wall at team workouts. That then turned into, that happened the last week of October, and my first tournament back was Masters week, so first week of April. Not very smart. So what is that? 5 months, 6 months?
Yep.
Something like that. But whatever. That turned into like a very long, like extensive recovery that was shortened because we decided not to like go the conventional route with like putting it in a stent and mobilizing it and all this stuff. Like it was a pretty bad fracture, and so what we did is like after whatever, I guess we fractured it on a Thursday, and then come Monday morning the next week, like they were taking our arms over a table and like trying to straighten them, like just to, like so we could have any chance to play that season. And so that goes on for months before we can even touch clubs. Probably about 2.5 months, I would say. It'd at least be till middle of end of January before I could even get a club in my hand. So we played a lot. I would chip left-handed. I would putt left-handed and play ping pong left-handed. And that was kind of like my time at the golf course for those few months, recovering, just healing in a sling. And then once I could kind of get my hand on the club and everything, I just kind of like that made the time go by fast. Like I would just sit there and just hold a club. I would just to get my hand and everything like going again. Like it was stuck for like 2 months, which is crazy. And it was scary, like for sure scary. Like I still have a lot of like lasting effects that I'll have the rest of my life because of that injury. But like that's fine. Like, at least I can still swing a club and do a lot of things I still want to. And so yeah, fast forward to like I'm starting to swing and I'm wearing these like basketball shooter sleeves, just like putting this like hot gel in the sleeve to make like it feel like a sauna in there. So like it feels good. I can start swinging so the bone doesn't feel like clicky and all this stuff. And it's just funny. It's funny looking back, knowing things turned out all right.
Yeah.
At the time, like it was pretty terrifying. I would go to the golf course every day and be like, oh, that's gonna be my last day. Like terrible thoughts. But like it's hard not to have them. And yeah, so I think to Mason's point, that Greyhawk round, I've been playing with the guys at UT Golf Club, but like UT Golf was a long course, and I'm used to having like a 180 ball speed, carry 315, and when we went to Greyhawk, I don't think I could crack, like I'm being really generous if I had like a 162 ball speed. Like I would be really generous. Like I didn't have like a 4-iron in my bag. Put like a 5 wood and a 7 wood in my bag because I couldn't like get like a 4-iron off the ground. And so I had a great round at Greyhawk, and the guys were playing a tournament in Arizona, and coach was like, "Well, do you think you can play?" And I'm like, "Coach, I can't even explain to you like how sore I am. Like I'm not gonna play like the next 2 days or whatever." But Parker's situation was a little less I don't know, intrusive, or it was just not as severe as mine. So he got to play that tournament, and he played all right, but like same situation. And then I teed up. My first event was in April at the Augusta States, and like that was a huge turning point for my game because like y'all said, like I made a nice jump in my short game my sophomore year, but like that injury my senior year was like the huge jump in my short game. Just because like I was forced. Like the first glove I get in my hand was like a putter. So like
Yeah.
I'd putt for a month, I'd chip for months, and that's all I could do. And so I made a huge jump in my short game. Eventually my ball striking came back, and like then it was kind of like, wow, like I feel like a better player than I ever was before the injury, which was it ended up being kind of just a wild situation. I look back and I wouldn't trade for the world because I feel like it was a huge point in my game to be like, I have to be good at short game, and it made me get good at short game.
Well, didn't you win that Augusta tournament too? First one back?
Yeah, I did. I did end up winning that one.
Yeah, it was
I'll
that
never
was a
forget.
team win too. I think we were 50
We
under.
set like some records and stuff winning that one too.
Yeah, I remember that was absurd. But I'll never forget after y'all did it, you trying to get your hand in to like say go horns, and then like you sat at our sink, put your arm in the sink, and I went and got like 5 bags of ice from the gas station. It was like it was a crazy situation.
Oh my gosh, I hit the ground after it happened, and it was like my arm is effed up. Like I'm like my wrist, something like, and Parker gets up. He's like, stop being a wimp, or whatever, and tries to like put his hand in there, and we both were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it was pretty clear there was a problem right away.
Yeah,
for sure. I think y'all got off at like B1, and then y'all had to get it like looked at right away. That was incredible. Yeah. Now, obviously, you've had tons of success in your amateur career. Number one in AM, number one in PGA Tour U. Multiple wins in college. You also won a national championship, with your teammates. So where does that rank amongst all of your golf accomplishments, and how do you think of it today, having so much success since then?
If you could, like an imperfect world, if you could take away if you could give me like the points on the Corn Ferry without like, I guess like the satisfaction of winning or whatever, like, cause like on the Corn Ferry, like those wins, like kind of, I knew I was going to get to the PGA Tour. So like that joy is hard to overcome. But like, as far as like just one pure moment in golf, like winning the national championship is so far above. Like, I think I would have to win a major. Winning a PGA Tour event and a major would be the only two things that like would surpass like just the pure joy and like satisfaction that like that moment gave me. I remember I was my 17th hole. I was 2 up, or I was 1 up. Sorry, I was 1 up on Preston Summerhays, and like I had like a super simple chip, like a very, very easy like 20-yard chip, and I had to like 3 feet, and this 3-footer's like it's a little. Greyhawks greens were really fast, ton of slope. So like a ball out putt 3 feet, and like I was kind of going slow, and then like I noticed myself going slow. I was like, get in the putt and just knock it in, and I kind of like sped up my process and just banged it in, and I was like the heart throbbing. It's nothing compared to like what I've had so far in pro golf. That is for sure, like, just like I keep saying, like a pure joy and happiness moment. Like that is the top for me in golf.
And then going from one of your most joyous accomplishments to probably the most turmoil. Back in 2021, in the fall, we did a little ultimate shot tournament. I just want to know, how did you and Parker lose? Will you ever recover from that loss going on in your golf career?
I hope we start very soon doing like an annual golf trip, and that group that did that we will have the same teams. We will do the same everything, and we need redemption. Parker and I losing that is like heartbring to think
about. One of the biggest upsets of all time, I think.
I mean, it certainly is a shame to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, for those listening, it was Mason and I, alternate shot, Parker and Pearson, alternate shot, and Cole Hammer and Jeffrey Zatorsky, another team member, alternate shot. Pick names out of a hat. Everybody thought that Parker and Pearson were going to be going home scot-free, but we ended up taking them down.
Little did we know that we can't scramble to save our life.
Yeah, you got complacent.
Well,
That's we're going to cruise.
among several other things.
It worked out so perfectly. I think we were all tied up going into 18, or maybe Jeff and Cole had a one-shot lead. I remember it was
Literally, everyone was tied, and Parker were the only ones that didn't make birdie.
yeah, drivable par 4 too. It couldn't have been a better finish for like the competition. It was ideal.
Well, it could have been, but yeah, sure.
Well, for y'all, it could have been. For Thompson and I, we got out.
Oh,
We got
that
out nicely.
like 5-footer that I made is top 10 clutchest putts of all time.
I was so nervous watching that. I'm so happy that putt went in. That was great.
There was some steep punishment that was paid for that loss.
No doubt. And we were out of mulligans too. It was happy you made that 5-foot putt. That was clutch.
Yeah, me too.
Transitioning a little bit now to pro golf. After graduating, what was the biggest difference you've noticed from college golf? You know, the competition there to the Korn Ferry, and then now from Korn Ferry to the PGA. What are the courses? Are they set up significantly differently? Are they competition obviously is different. Preparation. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Korn Ferry. I'll just start at the Korn Ferry. The Korn Ferry is, I don't say it's a step back from college. The competition certainly is not, but like the courses, the amenities, and all that stuff is a huge step back from college. So it's almost like, if you go find your local club course, put a little rough on it, and make the greens nice, like that's kind of what like the Korn Ferry and a lot of like most tournaments kind of feel like. It's like very like homey country clubs that want to have like a pro tournament. They want to have like a little bit of a party with it, like, and it's more of like a community event. And so these clubs, like the courses are just simpler. They're made for like member golf and everything. And then boom, a Korn Ferry event shows up and the greens are a little fast and they grow up the rough a little bit. And that's like, and so as far as like the mentality is like, yeah, you got to go low. I don't really think though, like the mentality is that much because like the way the courses are and the way golf is now and everything, like you're trying to make birdie. Like you're certainly not going to like an easy golf course and on the Korn Ferry and be like, oh, I'm really gonna try hard to make birdies this week. Like, you're on the Korn Ferry, you're a good enough player. Like you're gonna make birdies if it's your week kind of thing. And then, but there's also a good mix. Like I wanted Panama, and that's probably one of the hardest golf courses like I've played in a competition, regardless of tour. Like I won at 4 under and played good golf. Like and that, so like there's a big mix on the Korn Ferry, but it's also good because I've winning on one of the easiest golf courses and winning on the hardest golf course last year like gave me a lot of confidence that like like my game travels or whatever like that. Like so there's a lot of good mix on the Korn Ferry, and if you find like the positives in it, like you're gonna do well. You hear a lot of guys get bogged down like, oh, the Korn Ferry is just a birdie fest. Well, yeah, I want to be the guy that makes a lot of birdies too. So but on the PGA Tour, like guys make a lot of birdies regardless. And then that's where you can catch yourself like chasing a little bit, because the competition level is a big jump from Korn Ferry to PGA Tour, like a big jump. And but like that's fine. That's what you want. That you're going to be rubbing shoulders with major champions. That the guys with the experience of knowing exactly where that 10-footer is going to break to, and the way this bunker plays once the tournament starts, and all this stuff. Like, yeah, it's certainly not easy, but like no one ever said it was going to be. So like the difference is that the courses are a lot tougher. Scotty says it best when he describes like the PGA Tour versus the Korn Ferry. Is like the Korn Ferry, when you're on a just standard par 4, par 5, whatever par 3, any hole, like there is one side you can miss on and make par 7 or 8 times out of 10, regardless where the pin is, regardless of what's going on. Like if you miss over there, you're going to have a good look at par. On the PGA Tour, there's like a place that you can miss, but isn't a good miss. Like, it's not a penalty shot, basically. And then the other side is a penalty shot, is -1 or whatever strokes gained or re-tee. Like, so that's the difference is like on the PGA Tour, like you're going to step up and there's going to be a place you can miss, but you don't want to, and a place that's going to cost you at least one shot. And you got to step up and like hit the proper shot over and over and over again. And so and I when he said that before I started the season, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And like, I've only played 3 events so far, but I've played 7 or 8 events before that. And like looking back on it, like that certainly is the case. Like, because the greens are firmer, rough is thicker, bunkers are deeper. Like, everything just turned up a couple notches on the PGA Tour compared to the Corn Ferry. So that's, sorry, that was a little bit of a ramble on the differences, but like there's a lot of differences if you really want to go through it.
So you'd say college to Corn Ferry, not other than the golf course, like you think competition's somewhat similar, like best college players compared to the Corn Ferry guys you started going up against?
Yeah, I certainly think if you're the first or if you're the top 3 college player your senior year, you're more than likely good enough to like be on the PGA Tour, keep your PGA Tour card, and like progress. Like I had a lot of people tell me like coming out of college, like I got to #1 in Wagger and all that stuff. Like there's like a long history of like the #1. There's like a formula of like kind of like amateur players that have done certain things, reached certain thresholds, and Wagger or first team All American stuff that like 99% of them will get to the PGA Tour. And so like the top college players, that at least, whether if you combine all the classes, the top 5 or 6 guys in college are most likely going to get to the PGA Tour. Like each year, if you just take the top 3 players, truthfully, they're probably all 3 of them are going to end up on the PGA Tour at some point. And some guys, it happens right away. And some guys, like Nick Taylor, was a #1 amateur that took about 4 or 5 years to get to the PGA Tour, and like now he's a 4-time winner at, in his mid or early 30s. So like the paths are different, but like the top college players will end up on the PGA Tour at some point. So if you're in college and you're beating the top guys in Wagger or whatever system it is, like you're good enough to play on the Corn Ferry for sure, and if not, win and get to the PGA Tour pretty quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you see it a lot with guys coming out. I mean, you showed it, and you went into a little bit of some of your Corn Ferry wins. Just wanted to take like a couple moments out of the notable ones. I remember in Maine when you were tied going into the final round, you shot 28 on the front, just completely unconscious. And I was checking my phone. I texted you afterwards, and we talked about it. But can you explain just like what was going on in the front 9? Like, I know you told me you didn't miss a putt, and then was there a moment where you kind of quote unquote like blacked back in, like, oh geez, okay, like this is a little bit closer than it was, and I need to go close this tournament out?
It was, that was a wild experience. Like it kind of happened for me at the Augusta Haskins, that first event. I think I ended up winning like 6, 7, 8 shots, something in that ballpark. My first turn back, and that was like a complete unconscious putter display. But it was 36 holes and then 18. So like not even 48 hours combined. Like you can keep any club hot for 48 hours. Like any club can be hot for 48 hours. But like that week in Maine, I putted unbelievable, like unbelievable. I if I could rekindle one week like that, I would love to know my strokes gained that week. It was outrageous. And but whatever. And so like that final round, I tied for the lead, and I started off with like a nice 10-footer on the first hole. I'm like, oh yeah, that was nice. Like right back to where we were. And I make a 4-footer on the next hole. That was downhill double breaker, and then like those 2 putts, like I made a good one of distance, 10 feet, right in the heart, good par save, and then it's just like the floodgates just like ripped off, and I just started pouring them in, like hitting it good to have looks, but like a 7-iron to 10 feet, boom, 8-iron to 20 feet, boom, like, and it was just crazy, like completely unconscious until I got to 9T, and I was 8 under through 8, and I look at the leaderboard. And the 2 guys I was playing with, were like 1 or under or so, and so I looked at the leaderboard and I was a 7-shot lead with like 10 holes to go, and that kind of put me back in the conscious mode, and that was an unbelievably good learning experience for me, like so good, just because like there was no reason I shouldn't have kept that round going. The back nine is harder, but like I had shot 3-4 under on the back nine like a couple times during that tournament already. Like in the last day, it was playing a little easier. Wind was down and all this stuff. So like that was a great moment. I ended up winning by like 4 or 5, but like I was holding on. Like and I was certainly holding on. And so that win is incredibly memorable just because like obviously first professional win, crazy weird like third event as a pro, and then like that sequence of unconscious to conscious was like a huge learning moment for me.
So would you try to avoid like looking at leaderboards in general, or you just have a different perspective of like checking it to see your status and then just try to go about your round?
I think just yeah, I mean leaderboards are inevitable. There's so many of them. Like and so it's kind of like you're working harder not to look at them, which is like why would I? Yeah, you're gonna see them. Like you're gonna see them, but like I'm not scanning up and down. Like it's kind of like oh, whatever. 12 under is T10. Like great. I'm 9 under. I need to like push these last few if I really want to finish top 10 this week. Like my last few holes or whatever. And that situation, like I there was no way I couldn't see the leaderboard. Like it was like literally I had to walk 100 yards straight to the tee box, and it's right behind the tee box.
Yeah.
And so like I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna see it go through like the top 25 guys and then refresh. I'm gonna see it again. And in that situation, like I know I'm up 7. I know it's for my first corn fairway, but I wish I had just on the back nine, like the harder holes, I played the way I should. Like in that situation, no, like double bogey avoidance is everything, and like you have to have always look at par, like because you are trying to win. You're playing a game. Like it's not some flawless make believe like mental world you can put yourself in. Like your body knows that you have a 7-shot lead with 8 holes to go. Like if you don't make a double bogey, there's no way. And so, but my only thing is like when I did have wedges, I had opportunities and stuff. Like I almost steered it away too far. Like I'd almost hit it. I mean, 120 yards. I hit it to 30 feet under the hole just because I knew I would 2-putt it and stuff like that. So like keep doing the things that got me there, especially in scoreable situations.
That makes a lot of sense. That is a really good learning experience. And then the one in Panama you mentioned as well, just going back to that playoff, I remember seeing the video, again, texting you afterward. You hit it to what, 1.5 feet? I mean, it looked like a tap in. What was going through your head during the playoff? And did you have a good number on that shot? Were you nervous? What was kind of running through your mind during that?
Yeah, during regulation on the 72nd hole, I'd missed like an 8-footer for birdie to get to 5 under, and I started the day off like T like 21 or something, somewhere a little over T20, something like that. So I was like 5 or 6 shots back, and it got really really windy in the afternoon. And I came in my back nine, played really well in the back nine, pushed the needle a little bit, and uh, whatever, posted 4 under. And at the time, like a couple of guys were at 6 with 9 holes to go, and I'm like, oh, someone's gonna hold on and get me. And it ended up being a 3-way playoff of 4 under. And I was just happy because that was my first made cut since surgery, and so I was kind of just like just giddy, like wow, I have a chance to go win again. I striped this 3-wood, like hit it just absurdly far out of nowhere, and then I had a perfect like altitude uphill, whatever, just like 120 yards to the pin, 100 yards to cover, like 105 to cover the bunker, and like whatever. So I was losing a huge window with a little backstop, downwind, like lob wedge. Just hit it high. If it lands on the green, it's gonna be like good, and it lands like 30 feet short and just takes like an outrageous kick forward and then puts on the brakes a little bit and goes like a foot. And Sam Saunders and Mac Meisner both had like 15 and 20 feet. And once both of them missed their putt, like I started like crying. Like I couldn't even I just not in the videos or anything, but I started crying like on my caddy down, like damn, give me the towel. Like I'm like trying to wipe my eyes so I can go tap in a 1-footer just because like the rush of emotions of like kind of going through a second injury and having surgery in the off season like hit me before I could even get that putt down. And so that win is, I mean, just like the Augusta win, Augusta Haskell, not the real Augusta.
Not
is
yet.
like just is memorable. But the Panama win, yeah, just serves this whole other purpose of learning and self belief.
Absolutely. And now looking forward a little bit in your career, what are some of your goals? Do you have like a number of tournaments do you want to win? Are you looking at the numbers on what you want to do, or are you more process oriented in your goals? Do you just want to fall in love with the process, get a little better every day, and let the results take care of themselves?
Yeah, I've said for a long time, I guess especially the last couple of years, like people ask like, "What is your goal? You're gonna get number one in the world and all that stuff." I'm like, yes, like obviously, I want to get to number one and do all like the great things, but like, uh, my goal is to win on the PGA Tour, and like everything that goes into winning on the PGA Tour is like doing the right things when I go to practice, going to bed at the right times, and I still need to do a lot of things better uh, in life on the golf course and everything. But like, I know my goal is to win on the PGA Tour, and as long as that's in the front of my head, like for me personally, I know I'm going to do the right things and work extremely diligently to get there. And so I don't have a long list of goals. Like I want to be X in strokes gained. I want to win a certain number of times. Like the goal is to win every week, and I'm gonna like prepare like I'm gonna win every week. Uh, Scotty Scheffler has just been unbelievably good, and he says all the time that like he cares more about the preparation that goes into the week and the week at home more than how he performs at the golf at that tournament. And that's crazy and it seems fake, but like you truly have to believe that or else you're gonna just try and force things. And maybe that's what happened to me those first few events out on tour this year is I tried to force things a little bit and hopefully these last few weeks I put in a lot more productive days at home and that lets me kind of, free things up because again, I'm practicing to win on the PGA Tour and that's what kind of drives me.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. And I actually think that leads perfectly into our last question of this segment, which is what do you think you need to do to become the best player in the world?
Yeah, for me right now, my ball striking's got to like clean up quite a bit. That's what's through injuries. It has been tough for me. Is like some of the swing things I want to do, and uh, but it's really started to come together these last few weeks. Working hard with my coach Chris Como on the swing and everything, and it's really gotten in a good place again. So I'm really happy about where I'm heading, and I know getting number one in the world is a process and takes several years. So, kind of right now, the main goal is to get the ball striking intact, get the long iron play, the driver really kind of dialed in again, and over time, let the chipping and wedge play and just kind of mundane work that I put into those aspects of my game kind of build to hopefully one big product in 2, 3, 4, 5 years that I end up number one in the world.
Love it. And surprise, you just led perfectly into our next segment, too, because we're going to bring up your swing that you sent me last week, and we're going to talk about what you're working on with Como. Because, I mean, you and I are honestly working on some of the same stuff, like stability through kind of that right side and getting the pivot working a little bit more properly. We can keep this brief, but just talk about what you're working on in this pure golf swing here.
Yeah, so to start off right now, it's to weaken my left hand grip. Uh, Basically, the huge fundamental thing that I've been struggling with is like losing a lot of like I guess pressure in my right leg, which causes my right hip to get behind me in the backswing, my head to move way off the ball and lower a lot in the backswing. And so it puts me in a position that it's really hard to create a transition with my lower body with all that weight and momentum kind of like behind me and on my right side. Uh, and then the result of that was a ton of left arm bow uh, and the club not releasing, which when the club's not releasing, you're either going to kind of wipe it out to the right or you're going to lose that wrist angle and lose it left fast. So, uh, yeah, it's truly, I've just been putting a lot of work with kind of the body motion. The grip is truly the only like fundamental swing. Everything else I'm working on, you could do without a golf club.
That makes sense. Anything different from the down the line that for description, or is that pretty much the same stuff?
Same thing. Down the line, you're just gonna see that my knees don't separate as much. Like if you're looking, I'm not gonna have a big gap in my knees when I get to the top of the swing. And the takeaway, just trying to keep the hands behind the head as long as I can. And then it kind of, again, all the body work shallows the club and makes it release and do all that other kind of good stuff.
Yeah, that's what Mason pointed out right away when I kind of brought this up before we started recording, was just how nice that thing shallows. And then my thing is too, like, at least from my experience with you, right? Like even when you feel like you're hitting the ball terrible, your lower body always works so well and you rotate so well that I feel like you always have that face control. So like, at least from what I've seen, it never gets crazy off, which I think is why you're
Yeah, it's probably been more frustrating for me knowing how much potential I feel like I have with my ball striking the last few weeks, and it's been a sore spot the last 4 or 5 months, but like it's gotten a lot better. Like I've been working on the same stuff for about 2 months, and the kind of the ingredient that's tied it all together, where I'm really kind of proud of those two swings that we just looked at. It's like the head not moving off the ball, because then it lets my lower body actually like work. Like my lower body works really well uh, without me doing a lot, which is a gift and very natural, but like it can't work with how much weight and momentum was off the golf ball. It makes me have to use my upper body to get back to the ball, and takes away from like some of that natural good lower body movement.
That makes sense.
What are you working on short game wise? I know you've been working with Josh Gregory for a while. He's great, obviously, from a short game standpoint, and also with the practice plans. What about short game? Have you been doing stuff putting or chipping?
Yeah, for me, with the chipping bunker play, it's I get the uh, I get the handle. Same thing like my swing. Like I'm trying to keep the handle behind the club head as long as I can. That keeps my rhythm really nice in my chipping. I'll get a little fast and stabby, which is fine when the greens aren't firm. When the greens are firm, that you get that ball that's kind of a little low, a little hot, just huge first skid, unpredictable. So trying to just, again, keep really good rhythm, keep the face soft and open. And then in the putting, uh, I've been using aim point, which has been a huge help for me. And then left hand grip is kind of like, if my left hand grip, I can feel it as weak as I want, like incredibly weak, and that's kind of like the only putting thing that like I focus on a lot. I mean, I keep my ball position, I keep all my alignment, all my lines really clean, but like, if my left hand is in a good spot, the putter seems to kind of do its thing.
Very nice. It keeps it pretty simple. All right, we got a few rapid fire questions. We're gonna try to answer first thing that comes to your head, and then we'll get you out of here.
No,
All right. Favorite golfer of all time?
Roy,
Go-to drink after a win?
Coors Light.
You're supposed to be faster. Favorite club?
Right now the foreign. I love the foreign.
Must hit a fairway. 18th hole come down the stretch. What shot are you playing?
Pretty hard cut.
Hitting it hard.
Like it's gonna move a lot. It's not gonna be like a dead straight ball.
Okay. And who on our Texas golf team would you least want to date your son or daughter?
Tragic.
I knew that.
The last one was the easiest one.
All right. Well, I think that's all we got for you, but really appreciate you taking the time. And I mean, obviously we keep in touch. But I'm looking forward to seeing you keep up the PGA Tour career, and looking forward to seeing you get some trophies.